This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed, daily business news for people who make their own decisions. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, our weekend show is all about the two of us each nominating what we think is the biggest business news story of the week, the most remarkable story, a sleeper story, one that's not getting the attention that it should, and then our favourite business-ish story of the week. And it is a competition, so we need a judge to pick a winner. That judge is our Fear and Greed colleague, Adam Lang. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Michael, and good morning, Sean.
Morning, Adam. For listeners out there wondering why Michael could just be a little flat as we start this morning, it's because we've just had a conversation about the length of time he takes on this show. And our producer suggested that he was a little, what's the word there?
Wordy?
Yes. And then it came to you and I, Adam. We're both like, yeah. And Michael, his face dropped. He looked down, and it was, as you put it, Adam.
It was the shock of the feedback.
Yeah. The space-time continuum that it just is not unaware of.
Oh, yes.
I think the key piece of feedback I received from Sean, the one that really shocked me, was, I don't think you realise how much you go on. And to be honest, I don't think I do, because I just assume that everyone likes the sound of my voice as much as I do. Anyway, this week, I'm all about the brevity. And I know I've said that for 4 weeks in a row. Let's jump straight into it today. The biggest story of the week, Sean, please, you are the one that's filled the most minutes so far. Go for it.
This story deserves many, many more minutes. I won't do it, but it does, because the biggest story of the week could also fit into the most remarkable story of the week category. It is the rise of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. This week, it unveiled a better than expected cash profit, just under $10 billion. It hiked its dividend. The business itself is doing so well. The all-important net interest margin, the difference between what a bank pays on deposits, receives on loans, was steady at 1.99%. Given the mortgage market has been a lot more competitive in recent months, that's actually a really good result. While the economy might be slowing, people are still paying back their home loans, with the majority of mortgagees in front of their scheduled payments. The bank's impaired loan expense, lots of words there, but basically it's what the bank puts aside for bad loans, it fell. That demonstrates the confidence the bank has in its loan book. It keeps winning customers. The proportion of Aussie bank customers who say CommBank is their primary financial institution is 35.5%. The next best, according to the CommBank, is 16.4%. So they have twice as many customers as the number 2 bank. Crazy. It's got 24.5% of the home lending market, 26.5% of the household deposit market, about 26% of the business market. Now, there are 4 major banks plus a bunch of smaller operators, so these numbers are very impressive. CommBank is also getting better at convincing customers to use its channels rather than third parties. Its channels are much more profitable. So 2/3 of CBA home loans are sold via its channels rather than mortgage brokers. For the overall market, it's 28%, 66 versus 28%. Been a great stock for shareholders, even though most professional analysts think it's overvalued. Its share price is up 30% over the past year. And for most shareholders, the $2.50 a share final dividend takes a full year dividend to $4.65 fully franked. If you've held this stock for a year or more, and most people have, you're going to be getting a dividend yield of 5% plus. Its market valuation is $222 billion, more than the combined value of the next 2 biggest banks, NAB and Westpac. Can it keep going? I don't know. No idea. But for now, at least, today, the rise of the Commonwealth Bank is the biggest story of the week. Succinct, timely.
Well, I don't know whether the Commonwealth Bank can keep going, but you sure can. Jeez. Oh, goodness me.
Michael, when you have a big story, right, you have to get the facts out there. You know?
God.
Do you think Watergate was done in 3 minutes? I don't think so. It took like 3 years.
Oh, God.
Woodward and Bernstein.
Did you just compare yourself to the 2 greatest journalists? Well, arguably some of the greatest journalists.
I compared you and I.
And fairly so, Michael.
The biggest story this week comes from the world of economics. Because I've got to say, this is a world in which I'm finding myself increasingly comfortable. Even if I don't sound it, even if what I say is littered with inaccuracies, I'm comfortable with those inaccuracies. There was a wealth of data out this week. We are absolutely spoiled for information. But instead of wrapping it all together into one big story, I'm going to focus on one single element, and that is jobs, the very backbone of the economy. Is it? I suppose it is. There was quite...
You were doing so well, getting comfortable in the world of economics, and you got the very backbone of the economy. And then there's this pause.
Well, no,
is it? I don't know about that.
Well, actually, no. I suddenly thought, well, there's probably multiple elements to...
Well, economic growth is probably the backbone, but let's call jobs the arms and inflation's the legs. How about that?
Yeah, that's about right. I would say that aligns with my thinking on the matter.
Aligns. Nice work. Spinal reference.
It was, well done. It was quite a set of labour force numbers this week. 58,000 new jobs created in the economy. Pretty incredible. Many more than expected, Adam. Important to write that down. But still, the unemployment rate climbed to 4.2%, the highest since November 2021. And that's because there's a record number of people looking for a job. So the jobs market is cooling, but not a lot. The thing is, there's a lot of people coming into the workforce, pushed up by an influx of migrant workers. But the labour market, and this is the most remarkable thing. Do you know
what I love about your presentation? You were going so well, you'd gotten into the story, you'd left all the melodrama behind. And after about 4 sentences, you couldn't help yourself. You got the labour market.
He's back.
This is a really important thing. You couldn't help yourself.
He hits the turbocharger and away he goes.
It is because, it's actually because the labour market inspires me. I am thrilled by it. I think about it at night, and the fact that it is so strong. It is strong enough to absorb. There's the number of people coming into the workforce that it doesn't exactly scream to the Reserve Bank that interest rates need to be cut in order to stimulate things. Speaking of stimulating, though, which is one of our favourite topics on the show, there's plenty of other economic data out this week. I don't want to run the risk of muddying the waters and kind of confusing things and making it too difficult for Adam to kind of adjudicate. But there were a couple of things I need to mention.
Oh, here we
had
go.
Wages. No.
The one story of jobs. Yes, go on.
We had wages data suggesting inflation pressures were easing. Consumer sentiment still at very low levels. The NAB Business Confidence Survey suggesting inflation pressures were easing. There was just a lot. God, you can feel my very tenuous grasp on the subject matter.
I know. Watching you squirm, if only listeners could see your hands actually pulling together there. That's quite funny.
You put it all together, and this is the thing. You put it all together, and the Reserve Bank is going to have a heck of a time figuring out the state of the economy. But in the end, the biggest story this week is jobs. Jobs, jobs, jobs. We all need one. And though softening slightly, the labour market has proved itself. It has proven itself again and again and again every month to be remarkably resilient. And I think it's time that we give it the acknowledgement that it deserves, because it is the biggest story of the week. Adam, you do not look convinced. Did I need more melodrama?
Maybe.
Please no.
Oh, okay.
I found myself vexed on this one. Really hard to pick a winner.
Oh. Adam?
Yeah?
If you can't pick a winner out of these two efforts, you got no chance. Sorry.
Well, Sean, I'm going to disappoint you then.
Oh, my God.
Jobs are the biggest story of the week for me.
Oh, dear.
Now, I'm going to attempt to rationalise why.
Because
this number surprised, right? Enormous number of new jobs and an increase in the unemployment rate. So what does that say? Higher participation because people need the money. To your point, Michael, we all need a job. Actually, many of us need more than one job to get through. And I think that's coming through the data. So I almost couldn't split them, but just in the way this impacts people. Now, Sean, the CBA share price is just insane. I mean, it's incredible how highly valued that company is for all the things it's doing so well. And as you said, it's the biggest bank, 35.5% of people treat it as their main bank. And so just incredible data coming through and a very, very good performance by the company. Really hard to split, but I'm just going to give it to jobs this week.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes. Is it for God's sake? Why?
Were you listening? That's my question. Oh my God, Adam.
What are the criteria that you're? This is probably something we should have clarified earlier. But what are the criteria on which you are judging?
All right. Topicality, timeliness, economic impact of the story, my subjective bias, and of course, melodrama. And on this one, just the economic impact. I think it's incredible, the job starter this week.
Well, arbitrariness, I think, is probably the main category of judging.
Sean,
I've lost interest. I'm sorry, I've lost
He's going to walk.
I've lost interest.
The stunned silence in the studio. Most remarkable story, please, Sean.
I got nothing to say. You go first. I'm sorry. I'm still floored.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak again. My story is remarkable, but it's actually not remarkable in a good way. And this is actually a very serious story. It is the extraordinary gap, and we talked about this through the week, in literacy and numeracy between kids from wealthy families compared to kids from less well-off homes. Now, these results are from the 2024 NAPLAN tests, and really, there was a lot of coverage of them through the week and a lot of different interpretations of the data. And I don't think it matters which interpretation you were looking at. Every single one is absolutely shocking. An enormous gap between the rich and the poor in reading, writing, spelling, grammar, punctuation, numeracy. So this is not just in one particular discipline. It is across everything. And it's not just 1 year. It is across all grades. Now, if that's not a clear indication that something is absolutely horrendously wrong, then I don't know what is, because the states spend about $40 billion on schools each year. The federal government a touch over $25 billion. Timing is everything, though, of course. The state and federal government are set to hammer out a new funding agreement this year. Massive argument over it, over who will pay for the programs that are needed to get kids up to speed in these essential skills that will prepare them for the future. But these stats, quoted this week by Federal Education Minister Jason Clare, are damning. 1 in 10 kids are below the overall standard, but it is 1 in 3 kids from poor families, 1 in 3 kids from the bush, 1 in 3 Indigenous kids. We've got a golden opportunity this year to fix the funding model, to rectify some of these problems. Because you look at this, you hear those numbers, and these stats are not what you would expect from a first world country that prides itself on education and prides itself on giving everybody a fair and equal opportunity. So I think this whole story is completely remarkable. And I went very serious then, and I do not apologize.
Yeah, it's pretty dull. I mean, it's remarkable. I'm not going to argue that, but you're much better when you like turn it on. I don't know whether anyone remembers the previous story, the biggest story of the week, where you talk absolute garbage, but the melodrama seemed to win over the best story. Do you remember? Anyway,
I have a vague recollection of it. I'm sensing that you still feel it, Sean.
Just a touch. Do you know what I'm going to do from now? I am not going to do another economic story for the rest of the year to demonstrate Adam's horrendous bias towards economics. So I'm out. Michael, you can have every economic story from here to the end of the year. Weekend edition. Then we'll find out who's who.
That might test him.
No, Adam. It's a test of you. I'm sorry. It is not a test of Michael.
Okay. Game on.
I accept the challenge. As I said, I'm much more comfortable now swimming around in that world.
I think Michael's texting Stephen Koukoulas as we speak.
I was.
Please help.
Go on, Sean.
Oh, I'm sorry to sound like a petulant child, but, that's just how it is. My most remarkable story this week, I'm still smarting here, it's hurting me. The corporate regulator, ASIC, it's got something to do with economics, I'm sure, has come out and alleged that the ASX Limited, that's the company, the share market operator, made misleading statements about how the overhaul of its clearing and settlement system was progressing months before it revealed the crucial upgrade was actually failing. Now, a bit of background here. In 2015, the ASX started working on a replacement for its clearing and settlements system known as CHESS. It's all the back office stuff that happens when you buy and sell securities. A mega technology transformation involving blockchain technology was never going to be easy, was sort of going on, and they kept coming out saying, yep, we're doing okay. Then in February 2022, ASIC is alleging that ASX came out and said that the CHESS project was on track to go live about 14 months later, April 2023. And ASIC is alleging that in February 2022, ASX is saying the project was progressing well. Now, in November 2022, the end of that year, 10 months later, the ASX revealed that the project had unravelled. Now, none of this is new. We've known all this, but it is truly remarkable. Where it comes to this week, the lawsuit in the federal court is the first litigation against ASX for the botched upgrade of the system. ASX faces a maximum penalty of more than $500 million. The whole thing is an absolute debacle. The ASX chair, Damien Roach, has been in that role since April 2021, been on the board for a decade, so he's been through the whole thing. He's definitely in the firing line on this one. I would be surprised if he makes it. I think he'll have to step down. The ASX Limited, which oversees the exchange, allegedly hasn't followed its own rules, and now it's being sued in the federal court. That is truly remarkable. It's kind of like the regulator breaking its own rules. I don't really know what it's like. It's like something. It's remarkable. The ASX Limited, in this area at least, should really be beyond reproach. I get that it's not a news story. It's been travelling for a while, but the fact that it hit the federal court this week is why I'm making it my most remarkable story of the week.
These are both incredibly tough stories to hear and to read about during the week. I have to give you both a draw on this.
No, I don't want a sympathy vote here, Adam. Pick a
not.
winner. Come on, don't be like that.
You just got a pity point, Sean.
No, that's not true. All the points you made, Sean, are indeed incredibly remarkable. And there was also the question mark over, let's just say, the legitimacy of some of the information disclosures that are going around trading and where we are comparing to other markets in the world. And that goes to the credibility of a whole trading system. And this is so incredibly important to have governance and respect for the institution that really is a sanctioned monopoly in Australia. So I think that is a remarkable story and incredibly concerning. We've all watched this implode in degrees, as you've described. Then next to that, you have literacy, and education has to be the most important asset that we can give our children and next generations, and we are failing. And so it is just an indictment. We're spending more money and not getting it right. Now, of course, I would choose not to bring in my favourite reformation idea, which is states and federal government. There should be one national education system. This is where federalism and a federation of states, to me, is just not working. So I think that's a great story too. Draw.
1.5 to half.
Oh, God, it's a shocking show today. It really is.
Oh. And my favourite part is that Sean just looks like you've just, I don't know.
Shoulders are slumped.
I know. It's just
like the spirit. The candle is dimming.
Yep. Which is the time for me to go in for the kill.
Yeah.
We are going to take a quick break.
Snuff it out, Michael.
I will. Did you say snuff it out?
Yeah, the candle.
Okay. All right.
When I hear the word snuff, that's what I think of.
Okay.
Let's take a quick break and come back in a moment with the sleeper story of the week. All right, Sean, we are looking for a sleeper story. This is a story that's not getting the attention that we feel it deserves, or perhaps is going to become a bigger story further down the track. What have you dug up for us this week?
Profits have dominated the week. And if you dig hard enough in profits, you're always going to find sleeper stories. I told you about Commonwealth Bank a moment ago. I don't know whether you remember that because obviously the unemployment story was so much better. Goodman Group delivered a higher than expected profit, but a weaker than expected outlook. CSL said its plasma collection business is back on track. Commonwealth Bank reported, we did. The real surprises have come from some of the retailers. This is the sleeper part. JB Hi-Fi kicked off the week saying turnover grew last financial year and is growing this financial year, and its share price jumped 10%. It also announced a big special dividend for shareholders. Then online play Temple & Webster came out, said sales had jumped 26%. Its share price was up 23%. About 30% of its sales are now in its private label brand, which I'm sure is much, much more profitable. Pretty fascinating. This comes just as all the economic news suggests households are struggling and retailers are suffering, and that's where the sleeper part comes in. People are still spending money, and lots of it, as seen at Temple & Webster and JB Hi-Fi. Not every retailer is having a good time. Furniture Group Nick Scarley said people aren't buying as many big-ticket items at the moment. But when you look at what's happening in retail land, particularly in Temple & Webster and JB Hi-Fi, there are just really good retailers out there who are somehow extracting dollars from people. Now, Michael had a really dodgy story earlier in this show about, I can't remember what it was, 58,000 new jobs. That's it. Yeah, the jobs. That one. Forgettable. What it did show, though, which Michael obviously didn't say, what it did show is people have a job. And when they have a job, they spend money. And that's why these retailers are still doing well. Now, he meant that. If you read between the lines, you could have probably got that. But what is the sleeper story here is that these retailers this reporting season are actually looking better than we expected them. Still a long way to go. Plenty of retailers still to report. We'll find out more in the next couple of weeks, but really interesting to watch. You two, pull yourselves together. Get over yourselves. This is a serious show.
This week, Sean Aylmer, brought to you by a sense of injustice. Okay, my sleeper story. I have got some very, very good news for 1.2 million people.
About the same number of shareholders as Commonwealth Bank. Go on.
1.25 million, maybe 1.3 million. But it is a sleeper story because the bad news seems to get all the attention. Everyone's talking about the 13% drop in Telstra's net profit to $1.79 billion. And yes, that is bad because the enterprise part of the business providing services to government and large companies was written down by more than $300 million, and earnings in fixed enterprise, things like phone handsets and other equipment, tumbled. But, and here is both the sleeper story and the good news hidden behind all this negative, all this old school technology that nobody's using anymore, like landline phones, and I'm guessing fax machines and things, is the fact that the mobile phone business is booming. Telstra boosted its earnings by 9% in that space.
Do you even know what you're saying?
I absolutely do. Because, Sean, it's all about the numbers. 560,000 new mobile customers, 9% increase in earnings, 1.2 to 1.3 million shareholders, more shareholders for Telstra than any other company in Australia. This affects a lot of people. And the rise in earnings for their mobile phones came before Telstra upped its prices. So the sleeper story here is amazing news for those 1.2 million shareholders, the most shareholders, as I said, of any company in Australia. So the impact is broad because the future, ladies and gentlemen, is in mobile telephony.
Oh, dear.
And on that count, Telstra is an absolute star. Not that you would know it, because there was so much attention on the bad news and all those other elements, the old-fashioned parts like landline phones and the enterprise business. But look at the real story underneath the booming mobile part of the business. That is why I am here. The man of the people, bringing the good news to the people. Sleeper story of the week.
Can I just interject here? Right? So 560,000 new mobile customers. Excellent.
Yeah.
Rise in earnings came before Telstra upped its prices.
Yeah.
So it now has millions of customers. So the man of the people bringing the good news to the people forgot to mention your mobile phone prices are going up.
It's going up everywhere, Sean, but I'm thinking about the 1.2 to 1.3 million shareholders because it's the people's company.
As opposed to the 3 or 4 million mobile.
All right.
You know,
May I?
The greater good, Sean.
Oh, you're here, Adam. Go on.
Oh, hello, Adam. Sorry. Go on.
While the sparring continues. So, Michael Telstra, Vicky Brady, done a great job. 2 years in the role.
Can you explain who Vicky Brady is to Michael, please?
So,
She's the chief executive.
and Sean, you interviewed Brent Smart on this podcast some time ago, and he talked about their rebranding, highly consistent. They've got the better network. We've seen those great stop motion ads on TV.
You better explain who Brent Smart is.
So he's the Chief Marketing Officer of Telstra.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is a really it's an excellent result. Also, you'd see there's probably some customers gained from the Optus outage that's happened. So Telstra have capitalised on good results, but I just can't qualify this as a sleeper. To me, this is a continuing story that's evolving. The profits that Sean's pointed out here, or the profits and reporting season, CBA, Goodman, CSL, but also those retailers obviously we all buy, the consumer economy. What is it, Sean? 2/3 of our economy.
Rule of thumb, household spending. Yep.
So, that is a reflection of how we are spending. And to your point, Sean, you made it about a week ago that the worst may be behind us. And so I think this is reflective of that and full of hope, actually. So, this has to win for Sleeper Story of the Week for me.
The worm has turned, as the two Ronnies might say.
Does the melodrama count for anything at all with you anymore, Adam?
Well, it actually counted for quite a lot. You would have been smashed if it wasn't for that.
Right. All right. Favourite story.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going first on this one?
You are.
Well, my favourite story this week, Adam, is all about courage. It is about having the courage to walk into a room full of people and tell them exactly what you think of them. And on that measure, I have a new idol, the new Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank, Andrew Hauser, who this week walked onto the stage at an Economic Society of Australia event and told economists exactly what he thinks of them. Well, not all economists perhaps, but he didn't mince words when it comes to those who make definitive predictions for the economy in an environment where the data keeps changing, the outlook keeps shifting, and there is no truly definitive prediction. He said that economic commentators may be, in some cases, I'm paraphrasing here, false prophets whose poor predictions could make people worse off. A world of winners and losers, gurus and charlatans, geniuses and buffoons. Now, this is my favourite part. Those seeing things differently are castigated as incompetent, biased, or on the make, which coincidentally are all words that I've used to describe Adam after some of his judging decisions. And after his decision in the favourite story category today, and probably, Sean, if you want to unite with me on this, in the biggest story category as well.
Absolutely.
Are perfectly relevant today. Andrew Hauser has told us what he thinks of your judging, Adam. But he did have a point to a degree that some commentators are presenting views that come across as very, very, very certain in a very, very uncertain environment. And yes, there's a risk that it might mislead people and encourage them to make decisions that it actually could harm their own financial welfare. But it does also overlook the fact that some very poor predictions in the past have come from within the Reserve Bank itself, like the idea that rates wouldn't rise until 2024. But look, you've got to applaud him, right? You've got to applaud the guy for just getting out there and saying something, because every part of what he said is a great headline. Buffoons, gurus, false prophets. For an organisation that is usually pretty dry, a little bit of Reserve Bank melodrama is something that I can get behind. It is my favourite story of the week. Sean.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, that. Well done.
You are really in a mood.
Well, I am. You need to go straight to your room.
You need to check your privilege.
Check your privilege. Oh, that's good.
Sorry. Just whack. Just go on.
Tell me, I've just realised my story's got nothing to do with economics and yours has, so why should I even try?
Oh, wow.
Why should I even try? You know? Don't want to badger the judge early, but why should I be even trying?
He's getting an early left.
He's just so cranky today, Adam.
I was going to go Olympics for the third week in a row. Michael's done two. I was going to do a third. No. I was going to do the English Premier League, which kicks off this weekend. Adam, big fan. No, won't do that.
Go Chelsea.
That's a problem. But forget the Olympics. Forget the English Premier League. Think chess. Crazy stuff. Chess versus Andrew Hauser. What a crazy week we've got. This week we found out that a Russian chess champion has been suspended after poisoning her childhood rival ahead of a match by smearing deadly mercury over her pieces. Not sure which ones. Prawns, knights, bishops, etc.
Prawns.
Prawns. Did I say prawns? They're prawns to me. They're prawns to me. Now, the woman's name, Amina Bakarova. She's reported to have said she attacked, now I'm not going to get this lady's name, Umaganat Osmanova. She attacked Umaganat Osmanova out of revenge for a personal insult. She's been arrested and faces up to 3 years jail if found guilty. This is all out of the Daily Telegraph of London. Security footage captures the moment Bakarova entered the hall where the tournament was to take place in southern Russia. She appears to make preparations for the poisoning. She's looking around. She casually approaches her opponent's table. She takes something out of a bag, maybe a vial, smears its contents on Osmanova's board and on some of the pieces. Now, Ms. Osmanova suffered severe dizziness and nausea soon after the game began. She required medical attention. A judge from the tournament reported the incident to police. Of course, it was all on CCTV footage. So Bakarova is in all sorts of trouble here. Now, there are only allegations, not proven yet, but the CCTV footage is going to work against him. Now, chess has a history of cheating. I mean, in the last couple of years, there was the scandal, the world number one, Magnus Carlsen, basically ended a game against Hans Niemann. He's sort of like the 19-year-old upstart. It was an online game, and Carlsen, the world champion, claimed that Niemann was cheating. Now, Niemann had been found guilty of cheating a couple of times previously. Carlsen came out and said, he's done a lot more than that. And it's actually, Michael, maybe we could put this in the newsletter next week. The video of the commentators, when Carlsen stands up and just walks away, it's quite funny.
Yeah, it is good. Yes, we'll definitely do that.
There was a $100 million lawsuit involved in that one, right? That was big. In 1994, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Garry Kasparov, changed his move in a game against challenger Judith Polgar after momentarily, split second, letting go of a piece. Now, anyone that knows chess knows you cannot remove a piece once you've taken your finger off it. He did. Kasparov went on to win. We're still talking about it today. American Grandmaster Bobby Fischer, he always complained that the top Soviet players would arrange easy draws between themselves so they could use their brain power against him. But normally, cheating didn't involve poison. Cracking story. Adam.
Okay. Both incredible, really, and I completely get why they're your favourites. On this one, over a chess poisoning incident versus Andrew Hauser, the combative new Deputy Governor of the RBA, I have to give it to Michael. Now, I say that because as a former economist, I felt he was targeting people like me. And Sean, as you pointed out, often our job or our role in a conversation is to make a call. And that's what we're doing. But didn't he have a whack in almost like a John Cleese theatrical style? So I thought he's remarkable. But what I love actually about it is that we've got a Reserve Bank that's speaking its mind. So from Michelle Bullock to Andrew Hauser, I really welcome the conversation. So on this one, I have to give it to Michael.
Yeah, righto. Whatever. Economics. As I said, I'm not doing economics again for the rest of the year. We'll just find out how biased you really are.
Test my mettle.
The Andrew Hauser stuff, right? Like,
yeah,
he's relatively new, so he probably can come out and say what he thinks.
Yeah.
But I actually felt sorry for all the market economists out there who all day toil away. They have to make a prediction.
Totally.
It's an uncertain world, right? I get that. And all the economists want a relationship with the Reserve Bank because
we need one.
They need one. And yeah, I just thought it was a bit unfair, to be honest. Anyway, 2.5 to 1.5 you win. Yeah. Get on with it.
Well, that's it. That's the. Oh, actually, tell us the score, the breakdown scores as well. Not.
It's a tie.
It's moral. It's
92 points each.
That is a sort of hollow victory, Michael.
Did you just try and snatch my victory away from me there, Sean? Oh, you've tried to sour it a little. All right.
I think we have one clear loser today, and that's me.
No.
I've got to be perfectly honest, Adam. If people are listening to this, there is actually only one person that comes out of this with any decency whatsoever, and that is you. Certainly not me. Certainly not me. And I'm not going to give anything to Michael. So you are actually probably the winner.
Or least loser.
Thank you very much, Adam. Sterling effort today.
Thank you, Michael.
And thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Adam. Thanks for keeping it so quick today too, fellas.
That's what we do. Make sure you're following the podcast. Join us online on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great weekend.